Hey guys, I'm back again with another discourse, and I'm sure you guys are going to really enjoy this one. So, we're going to talk about the two main categories of twin flames. Of course, there are about six, but I will do it in another video. So, we'll focus on the two main ones, and this is inspired by the discourse I did long ago, you know, uh, the divine masculine who has a karmic, and the divine masculine who is a monk, the monk type. So I'm going to build further on it, and we are also going to pair it with what kind of divine feminine you are, and tell me what you guys think. So we're going to look into the two sacred architectures of divine union. So this is going to be a very deep discourse on category one and category two of twin flames. And so this is for monadic twin flames, the advanced twin flames out there, the star seeds, the great keepers, and advanced light beings. So we're going to look into the sacred bifurcation of union. So not all twin flames awaken the same way. As we all know, there is no linear path. There is, however, a divine architecture behind how your flame mirrors your own soul alchemy. So there are two primary energetic templates that the divine masculine and divine feminine activate when they incarnate with a union contract. So I've been doing videos about the Karmic Detourer. So with the Karmic Detourer, the divine feminine is the veil burner. And then category two is the monk type, can call him the silent initiate. And often, we are the still flame. So these are the two main categories, and I'm sure you guys resonate. Of course, I'm going to introduce the four other categories in my future videos. So each category contains its own ascension curriculum, soul technology, and timeline alchemy. And each serves not only for individual transformation, but planetary transmutation and grid recalibration. So let's now explore both in depth, in truth, in power. So the karmic detourer and the veil burner. So the karmic detourer, as you know, he who awakens through the fire of false union. And if you fall under the category, you are the divine feminine who awakens by burning through the illusion. So the divine masculine archetype, the karmic detourer, his sole mechanism is that he awakens through karmic contrast, and shadow expressions are avoidance masked as desire, denial of soul level connection. And often the activation trigger is emotional loss, betrayal, collapse of karmic comfort zone. So the karmic detourer is the flame who runs into false light. He chooses partners, paths, or lifestyles that are safer than you, the divine feminine, because the karmic, because in comparison to karmic, being with you, the divine feminine, would require the death of the ego and the confrontation of ancestral trauma and a leap into soul-led living. Hence, he often rationalizes, she's too intense, too much, not the right time, but beneath the surface, he knows. So the karmic detour is not failure. It is deliberate forgetting so that the awakening becomes an act of conscious reclaiming. So now let's look into the pairing. So if you fall under this category, the divine feminine archetype is the veil burner. So basically, your soul mechanism is that you awaken through perceived rejection and emotional shattering. Your sacred task is to alchemize devastation into embodiment. And the activation trigger is betrayal, abandonment, and beyond that, not being chosen. So the feminine walks the hardest path, the path where love comes, ignites, and then chooses someone else. This is when she starts doubting her intuition. She questions her worth. She walks through hell and finds herself. Her power lies in the burn. She does not wait. She rises. She embodies wholeness, radiance, and sovereignty without being rescued. When she rises, her flame becomes the signal fire that burns through his karmic fog. So let's look a little bit into the third energy mechanics. So often in this category, the third energy is born through crisis, contrast, and spiritual death. Activates as the divine feminine chooses sovereignty over fantasy, magnetizes the masculine back once karmic cycle collapses. So the initiation focus would be shadow, alchemy, ego, death, soul, sovereignty, and collapse as catalysts. So now let's look into category 2, the silent initiate and the still flame. So this is the category, he who awakens through inner retreat, and the divine feminine who embodies the love he cannot face. So this divine masculine archetype, whom I affectionately call the monk category, who love to give out this false facade like they are the playboy, but in actuality they are the monk who are trying to fit in, as a facade. So this divine masculine archetype, the silent initiate. So the soul mechanism is that he awakens through spiritual retreat and energetic stillness. And the shadow expression is disconnection masked as neutrality, fear of intimacy masked as peace. So he's the kind of divine masculine who will say that, he's actually afraid of intimacy. He's afraid of so this archetype, and that's why it's very, very interesting, this category, because it's totally in contrast to the karmic detourer. So the karmic detourer will have a lot of excess sexual energy where he's just sleeping around through npcs and karmics, and then this archetype is that his fear of intimacy totally shuts him off. So when the still flame, when we come along as the divine feminine, he panics, because he feels this new level of intimacy like never before. So the activation trigger is long-term solitude leads to inner emptiness and remembrance of the field. So this divine masculine doesn't detour, he detours inward. He doesn't run into another woman, but into himself. His walls are not built of lust, but of logic and spiritual bypassing. So he is the inner monk, whom I love to call the monk, who requires a silent field to realize that he already knew her, that her presence is the only thing that resonates beyond illusion. But he cannot touch her until he becomes quiet enough to feel her. So the accompanying divine feminine archetype for the monk is the still flame, or the etheric keeper, however you want to call her. So we embody the union frequency in absence. And our sacred task is to hold the field through sacred neutrality and not need. And the activation trigger is stabilizing our frequency beyond expectation. So this is when, this category of divine feminines we become the etheric keeper. A feminine who does not react, she radiates. She becomes the temple. So in these categories where there is clear cut separation, there is no contact at all. Often with the karmic detourer, you will keep having contact, but you'll keep choosing the karmic or the NPC. Whereas in this case, it's complete silence. And that's why, a lot of divine feminines in this category will be like, are you sure he's not dating someone? Are you sure he's not with someone else? He is not. He is a monk. He's like a monk living in the 3D. And you mirror that, you are the etheric keeper, a feminine who does not react. You radiate, you become the temple, you become the light frequency he cannot unknow. So our journey is about refining our auric field, not proving our worth. So often this category is where, you tend to be the love bombers, you tend to be, the virgin, you tend to be the one that you mirror the divine masculine, like how he's a monk, you are a priestess. So every time we choose presence over panic because we fortify the third energy. So this category of divine feminines, we don't wait. We become the field into which he will eventually return. So in the absence is where we truly start building our life, and he kind of mirrors that, but there is no contact, no communication at all, So this is the divine feminine who often gets blocked. And this is the divine feminine who often gets told that, not interested in you, like the divine masculine being the monk, so this is the Shiva Shakti dynamic, as you can also say. Basically, she needs to awaken before she can unite, and then he is in his monk-like solitude. So that's the reason why in this category, we got to become the field into which you will eventually return. So the third energy mechanics work in this way. It's born through resonance, purification, and energetic coherence. Activates as both fields reach vibrational alignment and crystallizes without external drama. Very limited, it's only going, because you see, there needs to be a clear cut in this category. So the initiation focus is frequency mastery, sacral neutrality, inner temple stabilization, and mission activation through stillness. So in this category, you will notice that both the divine masculine and the divine feminine don't really have much experience in love in itself. It has always been inward, whereas the karmic detourer is all about outward. But you see, both categories are as beautiful in their own way, and they are meant to bring about the sacred energy. So let's do a little comparison. All right. So with the masculine path, with the karmic detourer, it's about ego-based escape into karmic patterns, whereas the silent initiate, the monk, the inner monk, he goes through a spiritual bypass via solitude. And then the feminine who accompanies the karmic detourer, she goes from despair to sovereignty. In fact, I'm going to go for the karmic detourer category first, instead of doing them side by side. So let me do it again, all right? So the first category, the karmic detourer, ego-based escape into karmic patterns. The feminine path, the feminines are despair to sovereignty. And the third energy is fire forged through trauma transmutation and purity. The reunion trigger is collapse of external world. The shadow work is betrayal, rejection, self-worth. Outcome is alchemical rebirth after destruction. Whereas category 2, the inner monk, the silent initiate. The masculine's path is spiritual bypass via solitude. The feminine from longing, so longing, yearning, to frequency mastery. The third energy is crystal formed through this field of purity, of divine purity. So the reunion trigger is internal energetic clarity. The shadow work is emptiness, abandonment, and self-doubt. And the outcome is embodied remembrance after purification. And the biggest question is why you choose either category. Remember, you choose your path because you could complete it. So whoever took that path of the karmic detourer or the inner monk, it's both painful in their own ways. One presents an external third party. The other is so quiet, you don't even know what is happening. And that breaks you. Both breaks the divine feminine. And that's why when you are burning in the ash of karmic betrayal, which is the karmic detourer, or holding light in a temple he cannot yet return to, the silent initiate, you're not lost. You're walking the architecture you designed before you incarnated. So for category 1, the karmic detourer, it shows how love survives illusion. Category 2 shows how love transcends form. And both are unique and both are holy. You do not need to switch paths. You need to understand the mastery encoded in the one you're on. And remember, and the truth is, you can't really switch paths. It's the way it is. And it was the path you chose before. But remember, the ending is the same. It's sacred union, planetary great activation, and the return to the Garden of Eden through embodied love. So I want to do a comparative synthesis with category 1 and category 2. So two architectures, one purpose, divine union through truth. So let's look at the timeline dynamics, all right? So category 1, with the karmic detourer and veil burner, union is preceded by rupture. So there's meeting, fireworks, sudden rejection or ghosting, and then the karmic detour, collapse, and then return. Masculine often chooses a karmic partner or low vibrational life path. Feminine endures a prolonged period of being unchosen and goes through repeated ego deaths. Reunion often occurs after karmic cycles collapse. Sometimes, the timeline can vary. It could be months, it could be years. But this path is explosive, messy, and timeline altering, designed to burn away all false structures. Category 2, our inner monk, the silent initiate, and the etheric keeper, the still flame. In our case, union is preceded by stillness. So there is a meeting, there is deep recognition, there is quiet withdrawal, long silence, energetic maturation, and soul return. So masculine often never engages in karmic entanglements, but disappears to purify alone. Feminine is called to deepen into self-remembrance without any dramatic rupture. Reunion is seeded energetically, and timeline convergence is silent but very powerful. This part is subtle, dimensional, and precision-based, designed to purify the field until coherence is possible. So now let's look at pain body activation. Category 1, pain as combustion. Theme, rejection, replacement, despair. Feminine feels unwanted, unseen, betrayed. Masculine feels pressure, projection, and unworthiness. Pain often expressed as rage, obsession, depression, and fantasy attachment. Soul ache burns until the feminine surrenders identity and rises in freedom, rises in a sovereignty. So pain in category 1 is raw, visible, and ego shattering. It triggers ancestral abandonment wounds. Category 2, pain as emptiness. So the theme is silence, invisibility, and soul yearning. So in this category, as divine feminines, we feel abandoned without closure or understanding. Masculines feel internally haunted but avoids emotional vulnerability. Pain expressed as yearning, insomnia, psychic merging, and creative aid. Feminine ascends through embodiment of neutral love, not needing reciprocation. So, pain in category 2 is quiet, invisible, and existential. It triggers wounds of divine invisibility and longing to be remembered. So, let's look at the mission blueprint now. So, for category 1, mission of transmutation. It's about burning through illusion, breaking ancestral cycles of codependent love, control-based marriage, karmic bondage, activate others through embodied truth and public disruption of false love paradigms, lead others out of fantasy and into authenticity, often emerge as truth tellers, healers, and disruptors of dysfunctional relationship systems. So the mission begins after collapse forged in fire. Whereas for category 2, it's the mission of transmission. We anchor love as frequency. We hold the coherent field of pure love, even in absence, so others may remember through presence. We serve as energetic stabilizers, planetary grid keepers, memory holders, often emerge as intuitives, priestesses, starseed guides, and quantum healers. So that's our role, basically, the etheric keeper, the silent flame. So we teach others to trust the invisible, the felt, the sacred, not the dramatic. So here for us, mission begins before reunion, transmitted through light. So the ascension pathway. For category 1, ascension through collapse. Path involves burning false self, relationships, illusions. Ascension is catalyzed by loss, grief, and ego death. Reunion follows when both parties have chosen soul over survival patterns. This is the path of the phoenix. One must die to rise. Category through ascending through stillness. In this path, our path involves purification, energetic mastery, and silence. Ascension is gradual, refined, and often very, very lonely. And from my own experience, I can say that, that's why we are called the still flame, the etheric keeper. So reunion follows when both are vibrating in soul resonance, often magnetically without drama. This is the path of the temple. One must remember to rise. So final word, at this point, you may be like, which category are you on? Remember, you are not in the wrong category. You're where your soul chose to evolve fastest, deepest, and most fully. Again, soul history, everything. There is no better or easier path because both paths are crazy on its own and painful and difficult. There is only alignment with the truth of your architecture. If you've been burned and betrayed, you are the veil burner and your love will rise through ash. If you ached in silence, holding a field no one sees, you are the still flame and your light is already rewiring timelines. And your divine masculine, whether he detoured through karma or withdrew in silence, he's returning not to fix what he broke, but to remember what was never lost. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this discourse. I'm going to delve deeper into all the categories, and there are 4 other categories as well, which I will do as a part 2. I'm really thinking about, but I really wanted to do this. I was really inspired. And I know many of you all may be wondering in which category you are. You know internally, and based on how your masculine acts, you kind of, But again, these categories don't matter and labels don't matter. And I've always advocated for that. But, this is just so that you know which category you're in to assist you in your journey. All right, tell me in your comments, what category you fall under. Is your divine masculine the karmic detourer, or is he the inner monk? Or is your so is or are you the veil burner, or the still flame. So category 1, to summarize, the karmic detourer and the veil burner. And category 2, the silent initiate, the monk, the inner monk, and the still flame, the etheric keeper. And I want to just tell you, I work with both categories a lot. And from my own experience as the still flame, I can say both categories are equally crazy. The pain is pain. It cannot be compared. The ascension, the evolution, oh boy. So if you ask the question why you chose a particular category, you chose before coming to Earth, because that was your pathway to awakening within the matrix as twin flames. So with that, I hope this discourse gives you deeper inspiration and guides you in your journey. And remember, God is with you always. May God bless you. And I'll see you all again with another video. Love you all and take care.